Welcome to The Courage Effect. I'm Suzanne Weller, and this is a show about growth and unleashing what's possible. You will hear inspiring stories about what courage looks like, how we navigate what's getting in our way, and the opportunities that surface when we choose courage over comfort. Let's get started. Get ready for a conversation about good trouble. Today's episode is a conversation with Andrea Anderson, the CEO of the Girl Scouts of Western Washington. She talks about what it takes to call out the emperor not wearing any clothes when everyone else is applauding. It's been a lifelong practice of hers that started with questioning why girls couldn't be altar boys and evolved into a career of championing the conversations that others avoid. The proud daughter of Danish immigrants, Andrea has traveled and lived around the world as a first-generation American, former Planned Parenthood leader, and self-described emperor caller outer. She spent her career at the intersectionality of health, race, social justice, and being unapologetically authentic in her role as a leader, as she challenges everything that we've been taught about leaving your stuff at the door. In this conversation, she opens up about not fitting into boxes that were never created with her in mind, why vulnerability is not a weakness, but is the most courageous stance that a leader can take, and how she's working to raise a generation of dragon slayers in a time when the world most needs them. From therapy Thursdays to moments of sharing joy with her team, Andrea shows how she's trying to be the CEO she wished that she had had. One who shows up whole, calls out injustice, and reminds us that sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is simply get out of bed and keep going. Enjoy the conversation. Andrea, I am so thrilled to have you here today. I've really been looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to The Courage Effect.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Such a pleasure. And one of the things that I want to use as a way into our conversation is in our prep call, you talked about being very comfortable with standing in the gap that others don't want to stand in. And that to me is pretty much a great embodiment or the place of courage. So talk to me a little bit about standing in that gap.
Thanks for the entree. I feel like I have been raised by incredibly strong women. I stand on the shoulders of some brilliance and some women who also stood up to power and to the, we're the ones who I take my cues from. So I'm incredibly proud of that. And also let's see, I'm firstborn. I'm an Aries. I'm like all the things. And I have my entire life found myself often saying that the emperor's naked. And I started doing that early. And like early in my upbringing, I was privileged. I was a scholarship kid. I went to Catholic school in Michigan. And I was always the one getting in trouble by challenging the rules of, well, why can't girls be altar boys? Why can't, like whatever it was, I would be the one to just stand up and go, explain that to me. But I also have had a long career of championing and talking about things that a lot of people don't want to, aren't comfortable with. I have a long history of advocating for youth who are not in great places with their families and being a sex educator and running Planned Parenthood. And now I get to, advocate for some amazing Girl Scouts in Washington. So I'm really lucky.
Well, and they're lucky to have you. And I'm curious to know, I mean, you talk about being firstborn. You're daughter of immigrants, yes?
Yes, ma'am. I am.
As am I.
Where did your family come from?
England.
Yes, mine came from Denmark. My grandparents and my mom came over on a boat in the middle of the 50s, and came from means, but we're super poor here. And so we were super poor, and my grandfather dug ditches. And so I was the oldest granddaughter. And I, as we do, became fluent in codependency. And so, was often the one who took care of everybody and loved it. And also, had to figure out how to not do that when I got older. But it's a joy to be able to go back home to Michigan and, still see my folks and love on my niece. But yeah, firstborn is a thing. Firstborn daughter of immigrants is another thing. Firstborn daughter of immigrants who is the first to go to college and do all the things, and nobody, yeah,
You're the
no
trailblazer.
pressure at all. No pressure.
Do you think that that's why you were more comfortable in standing in that gap? I mean, I'm wondering I mean, obviously you talk about being raised by strong women, strong family overall, but I'm curious for you, like, what do you think made you comfortable in saying that the emperor has no clothes?
I have this compass, this moral thing. It's not moral, ethical. I'm not really sure. I get really pissed off at injustice and inequity. I, would say I would just, it's not that I didn't get nervous or, have those and adrenaline filled shaky voice things where you feel like you're going to both sweat, pee, puke, but you need to say it. Like, I don't know. I just have always asked the questions of what, and somebody said years ago, it's not mine statement, but it's, the system isn't broken. It was built exactly as it was intended to serve the people who built it. And so the system isn't broken. It's the fact that more and more people are saying, what? The inequities, the inequalities, the misogyny, the racism, the hate that those who built the system are still benefiting from. So I have been an emperor caller outer my whole life.
Well, I am very, very grateful for that because we need more of that. And I know that you're also a fan of good trouble. So it seems like it really comes from a place of that compass that you speak of.
Sir John Lewis. Oh my gosh. So I never, one of my close girlfriends ran the Planned Parenthood in the state of Georgia and was good friends with him. And I never got to meet him. And so, yes, I am a huge fan of getting into good trouble. And I will tell you that my first word as a child wasn't mom or dad or anything. It was why. And you can actually call my mom. She'll verify that. So I would always ask, like, why? Why is this? Why? And, so I like to get into good trouble because I like to ask, why are we doing it this way? I'm really lucky to run an organization that's got amazing humans in it. And my two non-negotiables are don't ever say that's not my job. And don't ever say, well, we've always done it that way. So we're just going to keep doing it that way. You will have a feisty human in your face in 2 seconds flat. I'll be like, oh, really? Tell me more. When I do the lean in with my staff, I'm like, so help me understand. Everyone goes like this. Uh-oh. Because I'm like, I'm going to need you to explain it. It's like when you call someone out on a racist or sexist joke, you're like, yeah, I don't understand how that's funny. Can you tell me why you thought that was not only okay to say out loud, but it's funny. I love doing that.
Tell me more about the Girl Scouts. You've been there. How long have you been with the Girl Scouts now?
3.5 years. I'm super excited. I was a Girl Scout growing up. I am a Girl Scout. My mom was a Girl Scout. One of the first things my grandmother did when they moved to three fingers.
Yep, Girl
when
Scout
they moved
law.
to the United States, my grandmother signed my mom up for Girl Scouts to acclimate her. So my mom was my troop leader, which had its good and hard times. And I love it. I love the fact that we still have this long-standing historical structure that, again, have some history of racism. I don't think anything in our country doesn't have a history of racism associated with it. But we, as a council here in Washington, are one of the most progressive, open, affirming, and accepting councils in the country, which I love, which I got to inherit, and then I got to reinforce it. But I say this all the time, what better time to raise dragon slayers than in the time of dragons? So I love the fact that we get to have this amazing organization that holds space for young people who identify as girls to learn how to be friends, learn new things, practice, make mistakes in a safe space, because it's not always safe for women to make mistakes in other arenas, and to grow and find their voices and figure out what they're passionate about and be surrounded by trusted adults who are supporting them to do that. Gosh, I've had more conversations with women who who I have brought forth into their present day Girl Scout identity, because a lot of women are like, well, I was a Girl Scout, or I was just a brownie. And I'm like, no, once a Girl Scout, always a Girl Scout. Come on back to the truth, babe. And they think about like what their Girl Scout experience was. And it was formative, even if it was just a year, or, whether they were part of the military family. And that was the one thing that was consistent whenever they moved, locations around our planet. It's the coolest thing you can do. The thing is, it's girl led. So it's, what do you want to learn? Here's a couple things we can do. We have one of the coolest programs. We have a great partnership with Alaska Airlines and Boeing, and we teach girls how to fly. So it's, it's not just cookies and camp and blah, blah, blah. It's preparing these young dragon slayers to have the tools and skills I wish I had when I was, thrown out into the public to the wolves. Not that my mom and grandmother did a really great job, but you can't prepare for the level of crap that as a human who identifies as a woman in this country, we have to deal with on a daily basis. And so I feel like we're trying to do that. It's trying to hold space for young people to feel like they not only have a sisterhood, but that they have the skills and the structure to be like, no, I know how to handle this. Put your shoulders back. I got this. So I love it. I love the job I get to do. And you can see behind me, we were just talking about the fact that this is one of our camps. We have 6 camps in this state. So this is one of them out in Carnation. I'm really lucky to be able to go take a walk through whenever I feel like it. And you too can come to our camps.
Well, and I'm a Girl Scout, so
Yes, you are.
I grew up in California. I went to Girl Scout camp a couple of years, and I was a pretty active Girl Scout. And it was it's interesting because you're really this conversation is making me hark back to what Girl Scouts really gave me. And it was that putting the shoulders back and figuring it out, and the trust and the empowerment that went along with that. And I mean, one of the scariest things that I ever did was knock on doors and sell cookies.
First of all, parents wouldn't probably have their kids do that these days, but yes, me too, back in the 70s and 80s. And yes, I'm that old. Like, my mom would be like, get the heck out of my house and go do whatever. Like, I don't want to see you. And so, canvass the neighborhood, be brave, knock on doors, do your spiel. I know you know this probably, but do you know that the cookie program, because it is a literal program, is the largest girl-led entrepreneurial program on the planet. It is the largest program that collectively teaches young girls how to run a company. They are themselves their own cookie CEOs. They have to come up with their own business plan, their own marketing strategy. We now have, they can create their own avatar on their own webpage. It's not just having a sheet where you look at your mom's, coworkers and go, please buy some Thin Mints. It's literally an entire campaign of, who's in my black book and who can I call on last year who bought 10 boxes I can call. It's amazing. These are badasses.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. And I also love the pride in the parents, and I love the pride, like the dads. I mean, like, it's the cutest thing to see them, like when you're walking into the grocery store and they're like encouraging their daughters to go up or the girls to go up and do it. And it's a really beautiful thing to see. I love to see the girls come alive. And I love that you get to be a part of that.
Oh, we have a standing, so that book, Where's Waldo? We have during cookie season, Christmas season, cookie season. It's almost the same. My camp name is Valkyrie, which I'm really proud that I earned and was given to me. But we have a Where's Valkyrie campaign. Throughout the month of March is when you see the Girl Scouts in our council out in front of all the stores, whether it's QFC or Lowe's or their local mom and pop shop. And I have a standing offer that any Girl Scout who has the temerity to approach me and pitch me, I will buy from. But we also, my cookie team and I also put me on a tour. So every weekend in March, I am driving around our council, which is half the state, and surprising Girl Scouts at their booths. And so it is, it's a lot of fun to do for sure. I think I spent an inordinate amount of money in the past 3 years buying cookies. But the good thing is I give them away. I give them away to friends and colleagues, and I have a cookie stash all year. And if you think cookies are not valuable, you should offer any valet the option of $5 or a box of Thin Mints. I have never given $5 away to any valet. Just saying, here's a box of cookies. They love that. FYI. If you don't eat cookies, but you just want to have a little swagger, The valets at almost every hotel that I have meetings at in Seattle know my car. Let's just say they're very familiar.
I love that. But it would be hard. Like, I always have Thin Mints in my freezer. So they're hard to part with.
Good for you.
I
They're
love
really,
them.
do you do that? Okay, here's a little thing. Listen, Molly Moon, who is a local business owner here in the Pacific Northwest, has not only is a Girl Scout herself, is a Girl Scout leader, her girls were Girl Scouts. She usually buys cookies from us, and she has Scout Mint ice cream. So here's a tip if you feel like you just want to be indulgent: 2 Thin Mint cookies and a scoop of Scout Mint, and it's like a mini ice cream sandwich. I'm not saying that you will not eat more than one, but I'm just saying it's really good.
Well, and so we first came into contact. I met you at the Puget Sound Business Journal's Women Who Lead, and you were on a panel with Molly.
Yeah.
At that
Yeah. Oh,
meeting.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the things that, I mean, I really enjoyed meeting you, and then seeing you on that panel and talking about, I mean, the dragons. We're dealing with so many dragons now, and they're consistent, and they're louder, and they're more and more fiery. So for you, I'm curious for you, how do you navigate that on a daily basis? I mean, you are Valkyrie. You are out there fighting the good fight every day. I'm just wondering, how do you take care of yourself at the same time?
That's such a good question. I probably drink an unhealthy amount of coffee. I will. Okay, so I'm being funny, but my self-care routine is I never have a meeting before 9 a.m. I'm just not a morning person, and I stopped apologizing for that years ago because you don't want me in the morning. My brain doesn't work. I had a really bad car crash like 15 years ago, and it takes me a minute like to actually like have all my faculties. So I have that as kind of a standing rule. I will meet someone for coffee at like 8:30, but I have to like them. I also have 2 standing meetings every week, and my entire team understands it. 1, I have therapy on Thursdays. You don't want to see me untherapized. It's not healthy for anybody. And 2, I talk with my niece, who is now 11, living in Michigan with my sister and her husband. And she is just my favorite human on the planet. She is my heart living outside my body. I don't have any kids of my own. So when my sister gave birth, and there's a picture of the first time I met Tova, and literally I'm standing in my mom's kitchen and we're just staring at each other. And I was like, oh, okay, I will lay my life down for you. So those are the things that I do to try and keep sane. I have a really good small cabal of women who love me. That's my safe squad. I don't know. I'm redoing my kitchen.
Well, you're also very generous to other people. I mean, I hear you talk a lot about your team and really doing a lot for your team. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that that's also part of what feeds you. I think it's probably something you have to be careful that you don't go give too much, but
Yeah.
you're still taking care of yourself.
Well, it's that thing of, so I will just out myself that I am a member of the recovery community. Somebody said to me years ago, I was having a hard time, and one of my friends in recovery said, "Why didn't you reach out? Why didn't you let somebody know?" And I said, it was before I had some more sense of self, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to, you all have tough days as well." And she got really serious with me, and she's like, I get that, but you just selfishly kept your stuff to yourself, which doesn't help any of us. It doesn't showcase that you know how to reach out. You didn't give any of us the chance to feel better about ourselves because we got to be there for you. And you didn't lean in a trusting way to let us know that you could be trusted, and you trusted us. And I was like, oh, way to reframe that. And so when I help my teams, when I stand in, when I listen, we start every large team meeting we have at work with moments of joy. And some days are longer than others, and some days everyone's struggling with like, well, my coffee's hot. But most of the time, my team ends up bragging about each other. And so that for me feeds my soul. I'm not a saint. I swear like a sailor. I have lots of probably not great habits, and and I have more shoes than I need. Like if you're not there for your team who does so much work, they're not going to do so much work. I mean, I don't know, it's just how I lead.
It's not as common as one would like to think it is, and it's one of those things that now I feel that because we are fighting those dragons every day, it's even more important.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and I appreciate you. I appreciate you being the leader that you feel that you need to be for yourself, for your team, for your community,
Yeah.
for the girls, and to really do that in a way that is unapologetic.
Yeah. I stopped apologizing for my very, very existence years ago. Um, and I also, I think I said this at the panel you were at. I'm trying to be the CEO I wish I had coming up. I'm trying to be a CEO leader. Somebody else can see that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be authentic. It's okay to not have all your shit together. It's okay to swear. It's like, it's being, I am one of the, you look back at your career and you're like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, or I wish I'd shown up differently. And one of my like moments where you're like, oh crap, is I believed, because I was taught, when you come to work, leave your shit at the door. I don't want it in the office. You're here to work, and I'm like, how ridiculous is that sentence? Like, first of all, was that teaching us all to compartmentalize? And that's why we're all in therapy or, on some form of having a wine at 5:30. Like, how can you, how can you expect people to work when there's issues, or there's families, or there's health, or there's parents moved in with them, or their bills are not paid? Like, you can't. You're hiring the whole person. And so maybe in my one woman crusade, I'm changing how we actually create a work environment. I mean, Molly was great as well. I mean, Molly, when she talked on the stage about keeping every one of the staff members like pre-COVID to post-COVID, and like paying their full insurance coverage, and like making sure that work was something that they all wanted to be at. I mean, she's also one of my sheroes.
Well, and it's exactly what you were saying before, the idea of, well, this is the way that it's always been done. Like, well, we just don't do
Oh,
that. I mean, and I'm allergic to that statement. Like, anytime I hear it, I mean, I don't usually have like
love
always the
that.
lean in, like, help me understand. I mean, like that's great. And like, that's my coaching self. Like my coaching self does that, but there is that fiery time where it's just like, oh, it's just so
Yeah.
painful when
Yeah.
it's so like appalling and just oblivious, right? Like there's just a certain point of the challenge of that. And I also, what you're saying about the vulnerability is really, it lands deeply with me right now. I'm doing a keynote that on toxic leadership. And one of the things that I admit in that speech is that I have been a toxic leader at times. I didn't
Yeah.
intend to be, but
Yeah.
I screwed up, right? Like I was reactive in a moment and I did something that I'm not necessarily proud of. And it's funny because people are like, well, why are you even talking about that? I'm like, because we all have it in us. And it's just one of those things that we need to acknowledge and we need to be open to. And that vulnerability and that honesty allows us to, exactly as you were saying, and your colleague was saying, like bringing it into the room, like you're giving it air, you're allowing it to exist.
Yeah. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. Like, it's ridiculous to think that. And hopefully I have learned, like, I am a better person than I am, that I'm a better person today than I have ever been. And I hope tomorrow I'm a better than I am today, because that's, I mean, I think that that's being an authentic, wanting to grow human. And I know not everybody has that same passion, but oh, heck yes. I was part of the problem 25 years ago when I was still a neophyte in the middle of the business meeting. And I laughed at a sexist joke because I was like, yeah, I was in that room. And I'm like, okay, yep, you bet. Or let somebody flirt with me, or passed on some crappy policy to my team and didn't stand up because I was, it's like, yeah, I absolutely was part of the problem. And today I'm like, nope, F off. And I have so much privilege to do that. Let's just be real clear. I identify as a white cisgender woman in this country. I am a CEO of a nonprofit organization that is in good financial standing. Listen, I have so much privilege. I also am a woman who deals with misogyny that's baked in. every day. I'm also an out queer woman. So I deal with a lot of discrimination in that arena. Like there's other things. And I don't, yeah, it's okay. Like we should be allowed to learn and grow. Like that's one of my favorite things about Girl Scouts. We hold space for you to make mistakes every day.
So important.
Life usually doesn't allow for that. And I'm not saying that if someone is doing something heinous that we're not going to be like, listen, we need to have a conversation. But
yes.
But I'm like, okay, so tell me how I just had an entire situation I won't go into. We did not handle something well. And so my job as the boss is to always go, okay, I'm going to ask a crap ton of questions because I need to understand how we got here. And we need to understand how we're not going to be here again. And was I irritated and do I have to eat some crow that I didn't want to eat with some colleagues? You betcha. But I would rather do that, own it, and have us move forward and be like, okay, learning opportunity. I'm going to try not to wear a shame suit. And I feel like that offers more credibility than trying to hide it and not, or say, well, we didn't mess up. I hate when people say that. I don't hate anything. I get irritated when people won't own their mistakes. It's such a missed opportunity.
I read when you lived in Hawaii, you did a TED talk about 10 years ago.
I did.
Talk to me a little bit about sex education and otherwise, because that's also, I mean, again, speaking about the emperor has no clothes and not being afraid to wrestle taboo topics. I'd love to hear more.
Oh, sure. So, as I said earlier, I was a granddaughter of immigrants. So my family's from Denmark, which is an incredibly progressive, mostly socialist, but just very open and affirming with humans' experiences and bodies and sexuality and just factual in a lot of ways and sharing information on an educational level with their kids in a public setting. So that's how I was raised. I was raised in that type of a family dynamic inside a rather conservative Southwest Michigan community at a Catholic school. So I was this really weird anomaly kid who was like, what do you mean your parents didn't tell you the right names of your body parts? What do you mean you don't know what's happening and you had blood in your panties? Like that's a period. So I was always that kid. And so when I went to college, I thought I wanted to go into psychology. And then I found this obscure degree called family studies with a specialty in teaching sexuality education. And I was like, that's my calling. And so I got that degree and realized I couldn't get a job. So I ended up volunteering during college at Planned Parenthood and realized, oh, there is a job. So ended up becoming a sex educator and then running the department and then ended up running Planned Parenthood out in Hawaii, which I just talking about a dream job. I mean, a dream job wearing Kevlar. Let's be really, really clear about the fact that it was a tough job.
Yeah, totally.
And I got an opportunity. The people in Hawaii were putting on the TED Talk and they reached out and they're like, we would love for you to consider putting something together. So I put my hat in the ring and I said, what if we as humans talked about our body parts respectfully? What if we actually named them what they're called? I used to teach at different universities and throughout the country. And even I had a class at Western Michigan University where I created the curriculum to train students on how to teach about sexuality education, because the class is now required. If you're getting a health degree and you're going to teach sex ed in a public school in Michigan, it's not required. But I would teach them how. And one of the things we had to do that you often think about before you can teach the good stuff, you have to look at all the crap. And so everyone's favorite activity was a thing called the slang game. And I would give everyone a marker and I would put up all these big pieces of paper and I would be like, okay, every piece of paper had a body part on it. And I was like, go up there and put down every slang word you know. And they were creative. And
Indeed.
I wish that I had kept a list. But none of them were positive. Not one. I don't care what body part you're talking about. And these all had to do with your sexual expression. None of them were positive. None of them. And I was like, what? So it was always when we talked about how we were going to present to the younger people, how are we going to start giving them the tools they need to lead a healthier life with regards to their sexual expression, whether it's by themselves or with others. But first of all, how are we going to give them the autonomy and the self-efficacy about my body, my parts. This is what they're called. What would the world look like if we actually didn't have anywhere in our vocabulary the level of hideousness that we have around what people call body parts, and how derogatory it is, and how demeaning, and how it just chips away at our very psyches? How can we be focused on our sexual expression and even just pleasure if we're worried about the fact that we think the person that we are currently exchanging loving energies with is calling our breasts fun bags or our genitalia all the other heinous things? Like, how can we settle? I mean, how do we feel safe?
Yeah.
So yeah, just a light topic for 12 minutes on a TED Talk. Super light.
I really enjoyed it. It's interesting because at first I was like, oh, there's all these funny words. And then when you said that they're derogatory, it's like, yeah, but I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, there are some that you know, obviously that they are, but again, it's just things that become so ingrained in our world that we just don't really think about it. And it's so based in shame. I mean, all of it is just this idea of like, well, that's embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it. So let me call it something really stupid at the expense of somebody else. And to your point, it doesn't really allow us to be creative or to enjoy pleasure. And it, in fact, continually makes pleasure more and more taboo and distant.
Well, and the shame comes from lack of knowing and the rub of we are supposed to. Like, shouldn't we know how our bodies work, what their names of the parts are, and how we can own them and steward them and protect them and take care of them for our whole life? And we are sexual creatures from birth to death. And so if you feel shame about not having any of that, that's because you weren't taught. And if you weren't taught it, it's because the people around you either one, didn't know, or two, didn't want you to know. Those are the only two options. And so if we have a system where we don't want people to know, then of course people are going to come up with whatever names they want. I mean, that's why so many of the nicknames are also like very colloquial or regional or even cultural. And so that's because people weren't allowed to know or weren't taught the actual names of body parts because it wasn't considered something that they needed to know in order to walk through. In fact, it's a power issue. If you don't know how your body works and you don't have control over it, you don't even know what the names are to be able to describe it to a care provider, should you have access to a care provider, that's power.
Yeah, it's
So
total power.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, and the power of language, the power of naming, the power of knowledge. And as you said, which I think is really true, is people wanting you to not know.
Right. So if you think about it, I mean, the scam is structural. And I always usually have a thing, follow the money, but follow the power. Who benefits from you not having any power over your body? I mean, we are in the middle of a fight right now in our country. So who benefits from having people not having autonomy?
Yeah, and not having knowledge. This too is a theme for me with leadership for you. I mean, being vulnerable, being real, not being afraid to speak what needs to be said. I'm wondering for you, as you look ahead in your journey, because as you look back, we look back and we say, okay, 20 years ago, gosh, I was a different person. 20 years from now, we're going to be a different person. How do you want to evolve as you look forward?
I'm really torn right now. There are so many amazing, yummy things coming up for Girl Scouts of Western Washington in general. We have our 100th anniversary coming up in a couple of years. I've got some stuff planned for that I'm not looking to step away from anytime soon. And yet I know that there's a lot of stuff out there that also makes my toes tap. Like I would love to go back to teaching about human sexuality and change the way that providers actually speak with their patients. I would love to create curricula for parents and kids to feel good about themselves. I would love to actually get more involved with this huge wave of women fighting. Not that we haven't fought for a long time, but a lot of like more awareness around women's bodies and how they work, and talk with communities around why it's really important that we all have that sense of ownership and power, and how that bleeds into all kinds of other things and ways we show up both in and out of the work. I don't know. I feel like I get to show up, as I said before, kind of as the boss that I wish I had, but I get to show up as a model of leader that the girls that I'm privileged to walk with every day get to see. There's CEO is still synonymous in this country with male, and calling someone a girl is still a put down. And so if they can see somebody who identifies outly, proudly as a Girl Scout and in a position of power and leadership, they can see themselves in it too. I want to do that for as long as I can.
That's wonderful. I love that answer. And you are also just very comfortable with not being the cookie cutter. Like, I mean, I'm glad that like what people expect. You seem like you don't just enjoy being in that space, but like you really want to keep pushing the boundaries of what's expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never fit. I never. I have always been tall. I've always been outspoken. I've always been, raised by a European family in the middle of, the super conservative girls don't talk. I've always kind of not fit. And for a long time, that was crushing because, conformity is one of those things where it feels like you belong. And the fact that that's an equation still sucks. But I always wanted to be part of, I mean, we all do, right? We're all humans who want to feel loved and wanted and included. I mean, that's part of our psyche. And so for a long time, I tried to find ways to fit in society. And I frankly don't fit anywhere. I don't fit any paradigms anywhere. And I had a moment, 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was visiting friends back in Hawaii. And I will tell you this, and it was a big moment. And I know that it sounds silly, but I was on the North Shore. It had been a long day. I was hot and sweaty. And I went into a store. I won't name it. It doesn't matter. And I was looking for a swimsuit. And I tried something on. And so bless her heart, the salesperson who helped me was a size 2. And there wasn't really anything in the store that fit me. And I wasn't a surfer girl style. And they ignored me. And I was hot. And, the fitting room was too small. And like all the things, right?
Yeah.
And I just broke down into tears. And it was okay. Like I was in the middle of a divorce. It was like a moment. And so I left the store. I tried not to throw anything. And I went and sat on the beach, and I just had a couple of moments of epiphany. And I pulled up my journal and I was like, well, of course not. It doesn't fit. Nothing's made for you. And then I went down, and then I just went, oh, I've been trying to fit into everything because I thought that if I forced myself into a bikini, a size, a relationship, an airplane seat, that I would fit. Nothing fits me. I'm a big ass woman with a big ass personality. And I have always called out emperors when they are naked. And I have always, from that moment, I'm like, nope, I'm not going to try to fit my ass or my personality into anything because frankly, the scam is structural and they didn't make it with me in mind. And so I have had most of my life, I've had no choice but to live outside the lines because the lines, I don't fit. I mean, I'm tall and I have size 12 feet and I have to talk about silly stuff like I'm on HRT and, they're like, well, try a patch. And I was like, yeah. And I worked for Planned Parenthood for a long years. So I know a woman of my size, that patch isn't going to be enough. And so to advocate for myself in that arena, like just little things and I'm tired of it. And the funny thing is I forget how big I am until 2 things. 1, I see myself in pictures, or 2, I'm like in a woman's restroom with a big mirror and I'm like this much bigger than everybody else. And I'm like, oh, you are kind of giant. It's fine. But so I had this epiphany and I'm like, screw it. I'm going to stop trying to fit into things that don't work for me. And or buying an outfit that maybe one of these days, if I pay a tailor, it'll work. Or like, I don't buy things for sleeves that aren't long enough for me. Now, did I have to do a wardrobe purge? Yes, I did. But I'm like, no, I'm not spending money. I can spend enough money to where like I can buy a shirt that literally is going to fit me now. And again, that's also a level of privilege. But yeah, this society is like, it's not made it's like a one size fits all society, and that's bullshit.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. On so many levels.
Okay.
And
I'm done
here's to
talking. I
not fitting.
promise. Right. Here's to not only not fitting, but to pointing out and to use your privilege to go, that works for you. I feel sorry for you. Sorry. And then go away. Then have those people go, wait, what? And go, yeah, that doesn't work for me. I won't be back.
Yes. I mean,
Sorry for you.
it's the power of the outsider. It's the
And I've
power. It's the power of
always
not
been the
fitting.
outsider. It's the craziest. Ever since I was little, I was tall when I was little. And so then I was always, are you a junior staffer? No, I'm like 12. Go away. you know. So like people have done that my whole life because I've been so tall. And I was forced to look at things from an adult perspective from a very early age. And so sometimes, as I said, I was an asshole also 20 years ago. But today I'm like, oh God, my favorite things to do is to go out to camp and play with the kids.
Mm.
I will talk with the parents and the troop leaders and thank them for their hours of service. But my favorite thing is to like just hang out if they let me. Some of the kids are like, what are you doing? I was like, I just want to play with you. Can you just play? Can we be friends? Because I just want to hang out. Let's go.
Well, I love that joy. I love that playfulness. And I mean, really, here's to not fitting, because it is that thing that we are told our entire lives. I mean, as women, especially, but like the idea of be small, be tiny, get in this box, don't come out like there's something wrong with you. If this is like, we only make sizes up to this. It is such bullshit on so many levels that it is. And it's such a power to be like,
whole stores. What's
yes.
357? It's like a whole store.
Oh my God, yeah, but the idea of like, you need to go into that section, right? Like, and the whole idea of like, this is this whole other section. And I love that you have like universal standard, like that are like the average size woman is a size 16 and that's a medium. So we're going to make that a medium, right? Like, I love that there's like the more reality of people that are just like, screw the way that it has been done, because that's all, it's all crap. So I love the idea of not only owning it, but the power in it, because I do think that that's the perspective that's needed. And that's calling bullshit on like, okay, the emperor is naked and that's probably not okay. Like, to your point, going further into not just alerting people to it, but actually diving in deeper and having a better understanding of, we need to talk about this.
Yeah. Like, how did we get here? Why are you, what's the why behind you standing there and clapping when the emperor walks by? And I'm like, no. Nah. Yeah. I'm a pretty good bullshit color outer. I think I might have a master's degree in that.
Maybe you have a PhD.
Man.
Well, you are, I mean, I could talk to you forever. I feel like we're just sitting here like having a coffee clutch, and it's so wonderful. So you inspire me, Andrea. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for not fitting. Thank you for speaking truth to bullshit. Anything you want to share with our audience before we say goodbye?
Our world is on fire, and we need brave people. And I also know everyone's exhausted. So bravery sometimes is just getting up and out of bed. And being courageous is taking your meds. And sometimes just saying hi to your neighbor. Like, each of us does our very best we can. And just being your authentic self is enough of a courageous statement on a daily basis. So I just would love to listen. If you need somebody to listen to you or hold space for you, I got you.
Thank you for that reminder that sometimes just getting out of bed in the morning, that's the most courageous thing that you can do. I think it's really important for us to recognize that and to understand that other people are likely going through that, and to be able to see that and to hold space for them. So,
yeah. We don't ever say, leave your shit at the door ever again. How about that? We Girl Scout promised that.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. And I'm glad I got to get to know you better through this process. And thank you for being on the show. Keep doing your amazing work.
Thank you. Oh, you too. Thank you for holding space for women and humans to come and talk about what it means to be courageous. And I love this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Stay courageous. The Courage Effect is brought to you by Weller Collaboration. If you're looking for a leadership coach, maybe a speaker or a consultant to help you or your team be more courageous and adaptable, we would love to have a conversation. More information is available via the links in our show notes. Please spread the word about the Courage Effect. You taking a few minutes to rate or review your favorite episodes or share them with people in your universe makes a big difference. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. For more information about the show, me, our amazing guests, or you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, please contact us via our website at thecourageeffect.com. It takes a village to bring this show to you. I want to thank Alex Sandyforth for her production and administrative superpowers, Dave Nelson for composing our theme music, and I am your host, Suzanne Weller.